Jason here with Absolute Overhead Door Service of Lexington. Today I'm going to go through our inspection of your garage door and garage door opener and what you should expect every single time an Absolute Overhead Door technician shows up for a service call at your property. So the first thing that we're going to check on your garage door is we're actually going to release the door from the emergency pull here. We release it from the trolley. The first thing that we're going to check is the balance of the garage door. You want to make sure that you don't have to struggle to raise the garage door, and then once it gets up in its halfway position, you want to make sure that the door is actually wanting to balance and stay, not want to raise or drop. Second thing that we're going to check, and this is all telling you that the balance of the door is correct, you want to check the actual torsion springs. This set here is a torsion spring. You might have extension springs, or you could have a torque master with built-in springs. So you want to make sure that these torsion springs here are intact, they're not snaking. Make sure that the set screws are set properly, you have the right amount of turns for the weight of your garage door, and make sure you have the correct springs on your garage door. Next thing that we're going to check are the end bearings and the center bearing. On the end bearing, on the right-hand side, I've also got one right over here on the left-hand side as well. You just want to make sure that the bearings aren't wearing out inside of them, that the bearings are still wanting to roll correctly, allowing the door to go up and down. The smoother we can get this door to go up and down, the actual longer the life of the garage is going to be. Next thing that we're going to check is the spring pad that is connected to your center bearing here. This one is a 2x10 spring pad, that piece of wood that runs from the top of the door all the way up to the ceiling. You want to make sure that there's no splits, no cracks or anything like that that is going to allow that spring pad to pull out of the wall. Next thing we're going to check are the lift drums. You got it set on the right hand and on the left hand side. You want to make sure that they have pretty even wear. Want to make sure that there's not excessive wear, no chips or cracks or anything in the actual drums that is going to affect the operation of your garage door. Last thing with the torsion assembly that you're going to check are the tube and the cables. The tube, you want to make sure that it doesn't have any press points from the set screws being tightened down too much, that everything is flowing correctly through the drum and through the actual end bearing here. Last thing we're going to check, come over here and take a look at this, are your lift cables. The lift cables, you want to make sure that you don't have any frays, no uneven wear, just as well like on the drums. Make sure that they are properly seated on the drum and that they are not rubbing or touching anything while they're going up. That's going to ensure the longest possible life for your lift cables. Next thing you want to check also, the rollers in the garage door. These here have a 13-ball nylon roller inside of them. So you want to make sure that the rollers are rolling and not dragging. Key indicators that they're dragging is you might see black marks going up inside of the track. Could be up in the top of the horizontal track as well. But you just want to make sure that these rollers are rolling properly. Again, the smoother we can get this door going up and going down, the longer the door is going to last. You're also going to want to check the hinges on the door. Make sure they're not broken. Make sure that the tech screws are seated in there properly. And you're going to want to check the door sections themselves. We're going to make sure that there's no gaps in the panels. Make sure the glass isn't broken if you have glass, and then also check the durability of the exact panels that are up here. Make sure there's no dents. Make sure that the door's not pulling in. If you've got an opener on your garage door, we're going to ensure that you've got a strut on there. The reinforcement strut is just going to make this top panel stronger, so that when the door is pushing and pulling the opener, or pushing and pulling the door, you're going to want to make sure it's not pulling too hard on that section, creating a lot of strain in the middle of it, which is going to split that section. Last couple of things we're going to check on the door is the track. You're going to make sure that there's no dents, dings anywhere that the rollers can get caught up. You don't want to make sure that the roller can pop out. So we're going to check the track, make sure that everything is good with that. We're also going to check the bottom seal. On the garage door, you've got a piece of bottom seal right here. We're going to make sure that it is not dry rotted. Make sure that it has not shrunk on the ends. Make sure that when the door is down, that it is making a complete seal on the bottom. That's just going to keep out any rain or water, anything like that. Last couple of things. Now we're going to move on to the opener, and we're going to ensure the proper operation of the garage door opener. So I'm going to use the remote for this instance. This is one thing that we're going to check as well. Make sure that it is actually responding to the commands of the opener. You're going to check and make sure the motor works. You're going to check and make sure that the drive gear that's located right here isn't sheared, isn't broken off in any way. make sure that it is properly working and connected to the helical gear and the limit switches and everything like that. Then we're going to move on to the opener. You're going to make sure that on the wall button up here, that when you press the garage door wall button, that it is actually wanting to respond when you press it to stop, press it to open, or if you want it to close. So the wall button is working great on this one. We're just going to check the remotes. Make sure when you push the remotes, it is actually going to start, close, or stop when you want the garage door opener to stop. Last couple of things that we're going to check are the trolley. We're going to check the photo eyes, and we're also going to check the force of the garage door opener. So we're going to get this door connected back to the opener here. To connect the door back to the opener, you're going to take your emergency release, slightly pull it forward, and you're going to hear this click. Once it's clicked, it's ready to re-engage. So you're just going to lift slightly on the garage door until it re-engages. And now you're ready. The correct way to test the force on a garage door is to lay a 2x4 down on the ground. When the door closes and it hits this 2x4, it should detect that there is something down there and it should want to back off. And it's going to do that automatically. So now we know that the force is correct. We'll move our 2x4 out of the way. And we're going to test the door, make sure that it doesn't want to go all the way down. Now we know the force is set correctly on this door. So now, the last thing we're going to check is to make sure that the photo eyes are actually working. Both the force and the photo eyes are, they're just safety features, so that you don't damage your garage door, a bicycle, your car, or anything like that. So to test the photo eyes, you're just going to hit the button for the door to go down. You're going to break this plane right here in the garage door itself. Make sure that when it hits you or anything else up, that the door is actually going to open back up. That is all we're going to do to check out your garage door. We're going to check every function of the garage door, check the function of the garage door opener. We're going to ensure that everything is working properly, and we're going to make our recommendations from there. So if you're needing to schedule a service, give us a phone call at 859-900-2520 and let us know how we can come out and help you. Thank you.